Welcome everyone. How's everybody doing? This is our Legacy Over Lifestyle podcast with your host, the one and only Millennial Hope Dealer. I'm here with my good brother right here, Samuel Lucas. Samuel is actually a financial advisor with a Fortune 500 company. You guys are going to be blessed to hear Sam's story, all the adversity and hard work he has put in to get to where he is. Samuel is also a millennial, and you guys know as a Millennial Hope Dealer, my duty and my job is to continue to highlight millennial black excellence. So I want to talk to you all about the Legacy Over Lifestyle podcast. I like to remind you all of how they got started and what is our mission here. The Legacy Over Lifestyle movement started in summertime of 2019. And it was inspired by my Young and Wealthy tour that I did. I was working with Ramel. I'm not sure if you ever met Ramel. I told you about him, one of my business partners, and we were going on a college tour. Yep. And our mission was to help, millennial college students leverage real estate, credit, business mastery, coming out of college to kind of build wealth for themselves. And we were actually creating like our promo video, like to launch the tour. And we were trying to figure out like what was our message like to the college students outside of what we were teaching between financial strategies, real estate, credit. But what was our biggest message? And long story short, Jay, Ramel, and myself, we was able to create a Legacy Over Lifestyle. Me personally, I fell in love with it and kind of took it and ran with it and been pushing it. Created a little brand behind it, and now we want to be able to, just spread this gospel. So today is all about you, brother. So we're gonna focus on your story today. We want to hear about how you've been able to get to where you've got, and then we're gonna talk about some great things. We're gonna talk a little bit about your opinions on the presidential election and how it can affect millennials from a tax standpoint or from just what to expect moving on in the future. So let's get rocking and rolling. So let's kind of just start with a little bit about you. So just start telling us a little bit about you, and so that people know exactly why you're here, what you come from, and why you're validated to be speaking to us.
Excellent. I appreciate you, Isaac, and thank you for bringing me on. So a little bit about myself, as Isaac mentioned, my name is Samuel Lucas. Originally from Columbus, Ohio, born and raised. Moved from Columbus, Ohio at 17 because that's where I went to college. That's when I went off to college. Went to the University of Charleston. It's a small school in West Virginia. I got a football scholarship there. Once I started college, I decided to major in accounting and finance. And then, I was a fifth-year senior, so I was able to receive my undergrad degree as well as my MBA from the same university while playing football. Once I graduated from once I graduated from the University of Charleston, I was able to start with Charles Schwab in Indianapolis, right? So when you hear my story, it would almost come off like my life has been very seamless. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, I grew up in a middle-class household.
Right.
So, it's not like I had a rough upbringing,
Gotcha.
Right? I grew up in a two-parent home. My father was a major part of my life. He's the one that taught me, hard work, and that hard work pays off, right? We would get up early in the morning when I started playing sports, and we would hit the pavement. You would call it road work.
Yeah.
And I did that since the age of like 10.
Love it.
Playing little league football, because when I was young, I wanted to play in the NFL. That was my dream. So we would get up at like 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock, and that's what I really think helps me today, because regardless how late I stay up,
right,
it's automatic. I'm waking up at 5 o'clock, 4:30. I just can't sleep. It's time to get up and go because my body's been trained that way since I was 10 years old. Worked out with my dad because ultimately I wanted to play college football. I wanted to go to the NFL. That was a big dream of mine. And, I was a straight A student when I was young, but once I hit high school, just like any other teenager, there was a lot of distractions.
Mm-hmm.
And went from a straight A student to my first report card in high school. I got like a .9. It was awful.
Wow.
So I was very lucky and fortunate to be able to even go to college because my GPA wasn't great.
Right. Okay.
It was, barely a 2.0 really. But due to my athletic ability, the University of Charleston, which is a smaller D2 school, took a chance on me.
Okay.
Which that was really a blessing, right? So growing up, I grew up in a black community, and I knew what I knew, right? But when I went to the University of Charleston, it was a bit of a culture shock for me.
Gotcha.
Just because I wasn't, used to being in that type of environment.
It was the majority.
Yeah, I wasn't the majority. When I first started with the school, I just naturally kind of gravitated toward, people that looked like me, people that were on my team. And that was good, right? So I got a lot of lifelong friends, doing that.
Right.
But I knew that if I wanted to really kind of grow my network overall, I can't just hang out with the football team.
Exactly.
I need to, cast net wide, meet more people. And just throughout those opportunities at the university, I was able to, again, at that time, I wasn't phenomenal in school, but I did a lot better than in high school.
Makes sense. Okay.
So when I graduated from college, I graduated with an accounting and finance degree, and I thought I wanted to be an accountant. But I hated accounting, so I didn't really know what to do at the time.
Okay.
And I had a daughter, so I had my daughter my junior year
in college. Okay. And
right?
how old were you?
I was 21 years old.
Okay, so 21. Okay.
So 21 years old, I had my daughter in college, and that's what really kind of woke me up.
Okay.
But I was always focused on the future, and even when I was in grad school, I didn't know I was going to be a wealth advisor.
Right.
I remember talking to my mentor at the time and telling him, like, I still don't necessarily know what I want to do. And that's when he told me that, reading was going to be key. So he actually told me read aimlessly until you read with a purpose. So I started just reading everything.
Okay.
And I naturally started gravitating toward personal finance and investments. And the reason why I like that space is because while I was learning about how I can build assets and wealth for my family for generations, to manage money for others, I'm also learning about how to manage money for myself.
Right, exactly.
So that's what ultimately led me to go down that path of, a wealth advisor.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Makes sense. I love it. We appreciate that there. So a couple of things while I was hearing you talk that I was kind of taking mental notes that I wanted to kind of hone in for our viewers. Because a lot of times when we hear these, when we hear, people's stories growing up, a lot of times the fathers are not in the household. Like for me, I had a stepfather that I grew up with. My biological father was not with me, but like I always tell people with my stepfather, he never really instilled fatherhood principles to me, right? So it was still like I was without a father. So I heard you mention and you talk about having a father. So what would you say to the viewers who may have not had a father growing up, who may have missed out on some of the traits that have been instilled into you, as they think about fatherhood for our males watching? What do you think of some? Why is it important for a father to be present in a young man or a young woman's life? Let's focus on a young man right now.
Yep.
Like, why is it important for a father to be in a young black man's life early on?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's extremely important to have a father in the household. If you don't have a father, at least seek out a mentor that looks like you. And the reason why this is so important is because in today's world, if there's not a father in the household, or if that young black man doesn't have a mentor that he's able to seek advice from, TV, hip hop, things of that nature, things of the world now become the mentor. That becomes the father. And just like anything else, if you are watching TV and there's somebody that looks more like you, you're going to relate more to that individual.
Right.
And a lot of our black youth that are missing that father in the household, they're just really kind of growing up and becoming a product of their environment, right? One of the things that my dad was just big on is just like, you're not here to fit in.
Yeah.
I mean, these people that you're going to high school with, they're good people, but the odds of you being friends with them at the age of 35 are slim to none. So why try to fit in with this group when this is only a small part in your life?
So instilling principles.
Instilling principles, right? And one thing he always told me was life is like a play. Some people are going to have a longer part in your life. Some people are just going to be there for one act.
Yeah.
But always kind of focus on your goals and be
journey,
disciplined in your journey.
No, I love it. I
Yep.
love it. I love it. I love it. Perfect. Great. Okay. So, I mean, another one I would like to hit on, I know you mentioned about being a father. I'm a father. I had my
Yep.
first daughter when I was 20 years old. I actually found out I was having a daughter at 19. She was born when I was 20. So, like, talk to us about what fatherhood means to you, and how has that helped you on your journey as an entrepreneur and as a legacy builder for your family?
Absolutely, man. Fatherhood is the absolute most important thing to me in my life. If I didn't have my daughter Aaliyah at the age of 21, I know for a fact I wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing today,
Yeah.
right? Just because, once I had my daughter at 21, I realized that it was no longer just me that I had a responsibility for, but I also
True.
had a daughter that I had a responsibility for. And the fact that it was just a little girl, and you can probably relate to this,
Yeah.
I wanted to show her an example of, how a man's supposed to be. Once she gets to that dating age, a lot of girls are looking for men that are relatable to their father.
Yeah.
So fatherhood is just it's an essential thing, and it's the number one priority for me, because Aaliyah's, needless to say, she's everything in my life.
No, I love it. I love it. And I think for me, man, fatherhood, everything you said, I can contest to, because I think that fatherhood has really, like, shaping me up. I once realizing that it's not just about me anymore. I have a child that is counting on me. So, like, if I don't put the work in, if I don't grind, then, her legacy suffers, right? And just like that love and that care, like, you know that no one else, no other man is going to give her that love and that care the way you can and the way you will. So I can understand that me having my daughter really whipped me into shape in terms of entrepreneurship. A lot of the decisions I made was because I had a daughter, and a lot of adversity I've faced, I always had to look back and just say, hey, listen, at the end of the day, I'm a man, I'm a father. Like, I have a young child that looks up to me, so I got to be strong. So I think that for us young fathers that kind of we have like children young, and it might have been unexpected. It can still be turned around, and it can be a burning desire. It can become your why, right? Like, for all young fathers, your why should be your child. If you have a child right now and you're still trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, but you want to be a legacy builder, and you have a child, spend some time focusing on what you want what type of life do you want to lay out for your child? What type of principles? When they graduate college, what do you want to have for them? Is that a pay for college? Is that a 20-unit apartment complex? Is that a partnership with you on a successful company? Whatever it is, that's the fun part of building your legacy and your journey, is because you have the ability to go out there and create it. Like, it's your last name. It's your fantasy island. That's what I love about legacy building. Is just, it's no right way to do it. You build it out and you create it and you go after it. And having siblings, or not siblings, excuse me, a child is like one good burning desire to get you on that journey. So I can definitely contest to that. And I know you spoke about like having like them struggles in college too. I think the last thing we'll touch on is a lot of people go off to college. Me, I didn't go to college, but I have a lot of friends that went to college, and I find them coming out of college and still trying to figure out what they're going to do with life. So
Especially athletes.
Yeah, athletes. So what advice would you give to that athlete, to that college student that went off to college? Maybe they thought they had a plan and it changed real quick, and they're kind of on edge from quitting or trying to figure out what they want to do. What advice can you give them from your experience on how can they just make the best out of the decision that they already made?
Absolutely, that's a good question. The best advice I can say is, just stay focused, right? You got 4 years there. For some people it may be 5, but you're never gonna get that time back. When I first started college, it was kind of more about the social scene, and it's easy to get caught into the social scene because for a lot of people, it's their first time being out on their own. But it's, you're not getting those years back. So, focus, create daily goals, 30-day goals, monthly goals, 1-year goal, and create goals for where you want to be and who you want to be once you graduate. But if I could really if there's one word I could kind of really stress on, it's just focus.
Focus. I like that.
Yeah.
I love it. And I think for me, like, I didn't go to college But like very young, like I dropped out of high school my senior year, and I went and got my GED. But I was adopted through a nonprofit organization called No Guns Just Gloves, and they helped at-risk youth. They didn't actually move people in their home, but I was just a special case for them, right? So they moved me in, and they kind of started teaching me the same principles, like about not really college, but they taught me like growing up, getting a job, being responsible, paying bills. Also, I was boxing at the time, so the same principle that your father instilled into you, my boxing coach became my father. He always says, he calls me nephew now, but he taught me them principles. He was a correction officer for over 25 years. He retired. He's always been an entrepreneur, so he always instilled into me, and I watched him run his own business. I watched him wake up early every morning. I watched him take care of his wife, and I watch him at 50, 60 years old still teaching martial arts and combat, and still continue to be the CEO of his last name. So he instilled them things into me at 17, 18, and 19 years old when I lived with him, where he would make me get up at 5 a.m. and I would run 5.5, 6 miles every morning for like 6 months straight. And not knowing at the time, now that I'm in entrepreneurship, he has built that determination, that persistence, that sacrifice. It programmed me, and like being more spiritual now, and finding God. I see what God was doing to me, because my first 17 years of life, I wasn't getting what I needed, right? But as I got older, I was able to not know, but God started putting the right people in my life to kind of shape and mold and start to put these characteristics, because he knew he was going to make me a legacy builder and an entrepreneur. So it kind of worked out perfect. So enough about the stories and everything. Let's get into some fun things now. So first thing I want to talk about is, tell us about your first 12 months as, getting into becoming a financial advisor. Talk to us about like what your first 12 months in the industry was.
It was a challenge.
Yeah.
But at the same time, over the years, I was really prepping myself for that position.
For the position, got it.
Right. So when I started with Charles Schwab, I didn't start off as an advisor immediately.
Okay.
I started off as a broker.
Okay.
All right. So I was placing daily trades for clients, working with clients that were $1 million and above.
Okay.
Right. And in that role, I could have easily just been a trader, right,
Okay.
and just place trades for clients. But during that time, working with clients that are $1 million and above, I knew ultimately that was the type of clientele that I wanted to work with as far as managing their money.
Okay.
So I would ask, questions about, how they were managing their money, or, whether or not they wanted to seek financial advice. Just kind of open up the dialogue instead of just simply being on that phone and placing trades.
Gotcha.
Right. So if this makes sense, I kind of wore that hat as a financial advisor even when I was just a trader at the time.
Okay.
Because I knew eventually I wanted to be in that financial advisor role. So once I got in that role, it was basically exactly like what I envisioned. Okay. Now as far as the type of clientele that I work with, that was a bit of a transition for me. Just because majority of the clients that I work with are, Caucasian.
Right.
There's not a very high representation of African Americans in my role. Right. Literally, there was one client that I came out to meet and greet for the first time, and he leaned over to his wife, and he's like, he's black.
Right.
Which I could have easily got emotional about that. But I went out, shook the gentleman's hand, greeted him, and treated him just like anybody else.
Right.
Come to find out, it was a Jewish family. We made a connection with this book that I had on my shelf, which is Business Secrets from the Bible, which is written by a Jewish rabbi. And we really hit it off. He's one of my best clients in my book.
Wow.
But still, it kind of shows you that there's a lack of representation in the business.
Right.
But ultimately, you asked me, how was the first 12 months? It was just a nonstop grind. Right? Smiling and dialing.
Yep.
Right? You have to be very structured with your calendar. Or you either got to attack the day or the day's going to attack you. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I learned about the business. So, every hour of the day is focused to do something, right? Whether it's business development, answering emails, voicemails, are setting up, are meeting with clients from prior setup meetings. So the first 12 months was just a non-stop grind. You run with your head down. Now you're able to kind of, of course I'm still young, so I'm still getting it. But now that I know my clients and I'm doing a great job, now referrals are coming in, right? So they're going from clients to now being, raving fans, and that's when the business gets easier.
Yep.
Because now you're kind of growing organically through referrals.
People are coming to you and giving you a chance to all the great things they've heard about you. Now they're able to say, hey, Sam, I've heard great things about you. How can you help me in my financial situation?
Absolutely.
So I think an important question for our viewers is, what is a financial advisor? Like, what's that job duty? What's that role?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So a financial advisor, my job, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but my job is really to do three things: grow assets, so grow your overall assets, reduce your taxes, and minimize risk.
Gotcha.
Right. So those are three things that I'm focusing on with clients, and really what we're here to, as a financial advisor, we're just here to be the financial coach for people. Right. So there's a lot of people that know how to make money, but there's very little people that know how to manage their money.
Manage and grow it, right? So give us one example of, you talked about your first one was how to grow people's assets. So give us like one example of how you can grow someone's assets.
Yeah, so I'll meet with the client and they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, I've been managing my money for 10 to 12 years, if you call it that. I've been struggling, but I've been managing my money. But the market's fairly volatile at this point. There's a lot of uncertainty with the, politically. What can you do to help? Okay. First and foremost, I need to understand where they're at currently. Right. So I need to understand what their current financial landscape is. How much are they making? What are their assets? What are their liabilities? What is their risk? And once I get to understand kind of their current financial landscape, I need them to help me paint a picture, but I help them also get an idea of what their future should look like financially just by asking the right questions. So once I get to understand kind of where they're at and where they would like to go, I'm able to conduct a financial plan for clients and then get an idea of what type of returns they need to get in order to get them from point A to point B. Once I have a better understanding of what type of returns these individuals need to get, I'm able to come together with the portfolio managers that I have on my team to construct an investment vehicle, so to speak, to help get them from point A to point B. Right? Like you want to drive a Lamborghini from Atlanta to California. Right? That's not going to be a very comfortable drive, but you would drive a Lamborghini up and down South Beach, Miami because you want to look good. Right? So I kind of give that example as, for a longer term plan, we're going to need a different type of investment vehicle than somebody that's looking at a shorter term plan, right? So that's the way we grow assets, through stocks, bonds. We have hedge funds, real estate investments. So those are the various investment vehicles that we use. But to understand which investment vehicles I need to combine together, I need to get to understand kind of where they're at.
Their situation. So you do like a discovery on them. You understand where they've been, where they trying to go, and then you pull out your resources and kind of lay out, hey, you may have some options. We can go stock market. I got a great real estate investor, my good friend Isaac Grace. He's buying a lot of investments. We can turn your money around that way there. So you're pretty much, like you said, that financial coach because you have the education and relationships to help them grow and manage their wealth.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Gotcha. All right. So talk to us about one way that you help your clients on their tax liability.
Yeah, so part of that is just kind of having a better understanding of what the overall tax policies are currently. A big thing that I do, again, because I'm not a tax professional, I have CPAs that I partner with. But the best thing I can do is, again, kind of get an understanding of what their current income is, and through understanding their current income and what type of returns that we're expecting to get on their investments, I can do things like tax loss harvesting, right? So that's where I can match clients' investment gains with their losses, and net out those gains so that you're reporting less gains at the end of the year. Or doing things like charitable giving, which you can look into even as an entrepreneur, right? If you have a really great year, you make $500,000, 400,000, even 120,000, or whatever that number may be. There's opportunities through donor advised funds where you can get, if it's a really big income year for you, you can donate some of that money or appreciated stocks to donor advised funds.
Wow.
And you get that tax, you get that tax benefit that year, but you can spread out your charitable contributions to whoever you want to give it to over the next 5, 10, 15 years, however you want,
Wow.
right? So it's just kind of get an understanding of what their overall income is, what we're expecting to make at the end of the year through investments, and then again partnering with CPAs because they are the tax professionals, or utilizing things like donor advised funds, charitable giving, and then things that we do like tax loss harvesting.
Love it, love it. Thank you, appreciate that there. So what it sounds is like you bring the experts in,
Yep.
to help them and really give these individuals, like you said, a financial wealth building plan for long term.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always tell clients I'm really a conduit to all the resources.
Yeah.
I manage relationships, and I'm able to bring the most skilled partners in to help bring these clients' financial goals and aspirations to fruition.
Love it, yeah. And I think that's some of the laws of life, man. They say your network is your net worth, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're able to continue to bring your network together, it's going to help you keep growing your net worth because clients are going to keep you because you're doing a great job with their finances, man. I think that's just amazing to be under 30 years old and financing these successful individuals. Like you said, like a lot of them are going to be Caucasians. You're not going to come across a lot of, and not to say you don't, but have like black families and black clients. So I'm sure it was nerve-wracking early on, like being young and worrying about what they think about you, worrying about if you even qualified to manage $5 million worth of assets or a $5 million person, right? But you persevered and got through that, which says a lot about you. It says a lot about your hustle, your grind as a millennial entrepreneur. You're doing an amazing thing for our black culture. And this is why I like to put this podcast together, because we need to see that black excellence just doesn't come from entertainment, athletics, or being a rapper, right?
Yeah.
Or just being a YouTube comedian, or just making money out of thin air because you hit off on a gig. But doing things the long way, the hard way, and learning the wealth principles of America and leveraging them skills in your network to go out here and service clients. I'm sure you learned so many lessons in dealing with these successful people. I'm sure they pass game off to you that you're able to take and apply with you and your family and things like that. So hats off to you and salute to you for that. So
Appreciate
I
you.
mean, what would you say to millennial entrepreneurs about why is it important for them to have a financial advisor, or when should they start considering a financial advisor?
Yeah, so that's kind of a tough question because a lot of financial advisors I know when millennials are getting started, they're building their assets. A lot of financial advisors tend to have minimums, right?
Yeah.
As far as like what they manage. But what I would say is, a lot of people may know a financial advisor. Even myself, I'm always happy to provide some advice to individuals, even if they're not necessarily at my minimum.
Right.
But I would say seek out financial advice as early as possible. Today's better than tomorrow.
Right.
It's just the basic time value of money. You want to start getting invested younger, right?
Right.
Just because when you get invested younger, there's a magical thing called compounding interest, right? And when you get that compounding interest building on those investments over the years, it's just a magical thing, right? So seek that financial advice early. When you are seeking financial advice, make sure that you're working with a financial advisor that is a fiduciary, okay? So not all financial advisors are fiduciaries. To kind of explain what a fiduciary is, a fiduciary is legally binded to provide investment advice that's in your absolute best interest. So you don't want to work with a financial advisor that is 100% commission driven, because if they're 100% commission driven,
They're just selling you on
they're just
anything.
going to be selling you on different stocks every day, right? So you want to work with a financial advisor that is a fiduciary. That's something that you can ask them, and they are required to answer that question.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So my last couple questions that I'll have, and then we'll go on to our next session is, do you think being a financial advisor, do you think that's a good industry for millennials? Like, right now, COVID-19 has hit, has really shooken up the market, really making a lot of us consider what's our next move. Should I go back to work? Should I go corporate? Should I be an entrepreneur? Should I bet it all in AC? Like, what would you tell someone seeking for a new start about your industry?
Yeah, I would say this industry is great. It's extremely lucrative. I would say, outside of healthcare and real estate, working as a financial advisor is going to be right up there with those type of professions. If you are a go-getter and you have that entrepreneurial spirit, and you feel like you're fairly good with numbers, I would say that this is definitely an ideal profession. Simply because not only it's a very rewarding profession, because again, not only are you helping others build their assets, but you're learning these principles
As well.
And you're working with people that have already been through struggles, that will share those struggles with you, share how they were able to overcome obstacles. You're working with small business professionals that are liquidating their businesses for $50 million, right? So these are the people that you meet are just it's just priceless, right? So again, if you're a go-getter, you have that entrepreneurial spirit. I think it's a beautiful industry to enter.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you. Appreciate that there. All right. So as we begin to start descending towards the end of our podcast here today, one of the main reasons why I brought you on today is, I follow you on Instagram. I always see your work, and I always see, like, one thing I realize about you, you're always up to date on, like, current events. I always see you posting about whether, ever since COVID, from the stocks, giving advice on people should invest in these stocks, talking about, some of the political policies. We got the presidential election, and I've seen you posting a lot of different things and really just trying to alarm and awaken our black culture to have a better, I guess what I got out of it was to have a better knowledge base on when you're voting and why you're voting for a particular president, right? And I know today's lesson isn't about us telling you who or who not to vote for. But from a financial advisor standpoint, from a strong black man and an educated black man standpoint, I guess give us your opinion again, on, what effect does each presidential candidate that we have currently right now, what effect does that have on us as black Americans or just Americans themselves? And then what effect does it have on us entrepreneurial Americans, millennials, or just entrepreneurs? Like, what effects the presidential election will have on us?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I'll try to answer that in the most nonpartisan way possible. So this is obviously a very important election, and the country right now is very polarized. So overall, I mean, it's very important to understand policy. I don't care who you vote for, which side of the aisle you sit on. You need to understand policy, because in my opinion, people are not the ones that make changes in the world when it comes to policy. Politics is policy. So regardless of what the media may say about one individual or one other president, that's a whole bunch of kind of smoke in the mirror. Understand the policy.
Okay.
So whether you're a Trump supporter, know what his policies are. If you're a Biden supporter, know what those policies are. So that when you're having a conversation with somebody, they ask you why you support Biden or why you support Trump, you're able to give them a list of reasons why. Now, as far as like, how these presidents may benefit the black community, again, this is just my unbiased opinion. I mean, my unbiased opinion. no matter what the media says, a lot of the media will call Donald Trump a racist, and I can't jump in an individual's body and know whether or not he's racist, right?
Right.
It's really the only way that you know that. But I can understand policy, and the policy does show that there's been some benefits for the black community since the Trump administration has been in office.
Okay.
Black unemployment was at all-time lows prior to COVID. Numbers are a lot higher now, but it was at 4.5%, which is a historic low.
Okay.
Criminal justice reform is being put in place with the First Step Act.
Yeah.
That's something that was put in place during the Trump administration. Just the overall tax reform, right? A lot of individuals, their after tax pay increase at all brackets, right? Because every single marginal tax rate was decreased. And in my opinion, if you have more money in your pockets, that's more opportunity to do things that increase the livelihood of your family. As far as criminal justice reform, the Trump administration, again, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, obviously. But what they did is they put in place the First Step Act, in which the First Step Act freed, I don't know the specific amount of people, but I believe it was anywhere between 4,500 to 6,000 inmates that were in prison due to nonviolent crimes.
Okay.
Right? And ultimately, what they're looking to do is look back on these convictions and help release individuals that were arrested on nonviolent crimes, and as well as lessening the sentences for individuals that are getting arrested now for nonviolent crimes, i.e. drugs, right? And looking more so at giving them help as opposed to sending them to prison.
Jail, yeah. I think that's big.
So that's something a lot of people are not necessarily aware of that I felt like was pretty big.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think that's important because I didn't know that personally, to be honest. And I'm not a politic type of person. I don't really study. I don't know which candidate brings to the table, for me and my vote, right? So I thought it was important to learn this with our viewers as we go on this legacy of a lifestyle journey. So one more, I know you talked about three points. You talked about the employment rate, you talked about criminal justice reform, and you talked about the taxes, how he's done that. So I think that's one I want you to expand on more.
Yeah.
For my millennial entrepreneurs or my successful entrepreneurs out there, I know Trump is a businessman. We've heard about Trump well before he's ever became a president, and all of the things that he's done. Talk about what Trump has put in place for successful business owners or people who plan to be successful business owners.
Yeah, so it's hard to argue that Trump's tax policies haven't positively impacted the economy, right? A lot of people that don't necessarily. So just kind of give you a quick review. In 2017, Donald Trump's administration put in place the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, right, which was the biggest tax reform in history. Okay. Which again cut marginal tax rates for all rates except for the lowest bracket, and as well as it cut corporate tax rates from 35% to 21%, which was a big slash, which ultimately created more jobs. Yeah, created more jobs. Right, because again, a lot of naysayers of this says a lot of CEOs increased their pay as well, which they did. You can't argue that they did increase their pay, but at the end of the day, also there was more jobs that were created, right? So unemployment across the entire board was at a historic low prior to COVID, as well as in the black community. So as an entrepreneur that's looking to build and has aspirations to make that high income, be a part of that top 1%, which by the way is $480,000 a year in income, that has the aspiration to be in that area, those tax policies are going to be more advantageous for you if you're planning to grow business. Right. Because there's things like opportunity zones that are also created, right, which are designed to enhance economically distressed areas, but ultimately it gives also wealthy people that have capital gains or real estate investors that have capital gains, they're able to reinvest into these opportunity zones and defer their capital gains. Right. So he created those opportunity zones. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint and a business standpoint, those policies are going to be very advantageous for you.
Yeah.
Because the Biden administration, they're looking to increase taxes, mainly on the top 1%. Okay, they're gonna bear about 96% of those. They're gonna feel about 96% of those tax increases.
Okay.
But everybody at the end of the day is still gonna feel it, right?
Right.
So when you run the projections of the Biden's policies, ultimately the top 1% is gonna take home 7.5% less, and everybody else below the top 1%, they're gonna take home roughly about 2% less.
Okay.
And ultimately, over the next 10 years, it's also going to cut new jobs by close to 500,000.
Okay.
And
Wow.
cut national GDP by 2%. So GDP is just gross domestic product.
Okay.
So that's the overall production of the country.
Right.
Right? What are we producing?
Mm-hmm.
So those tax increases are also going to, they're expected to decrease the GDP as well.
Wow. Wow.
But ultimately, he's hoping to try to give more money to the middle class. That's what Biden is saying.
Okay.
But Trump is saying the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. I love it. All right. Perfect. So, I hope that was some insight for you all to kind of just take for a grain of salt, and consider it. As we begin to get older millennials and as we begin to become the producers, of the country, and we have our shot here to be the legacy builders and make history. These are things we want to consider. On my journey, I've been an entrepreneur these last 6 years. I was a high school dropout. I used to sell drugs. I used to hustle. My father was incarcerated my entire upbringing. I took a leap of faith on myself. I truly felt like since a kid that I was destined to be great. I was destined to be great, and I just didn't have it. I just didn't know what it was. I ran into real estate, and I haven't looked back since, and I've been meeting great people, and, I always tell a lot of my good friends about you, and just because, you came from Ohio, you came down to Atlanta to chase your dream, you have a daughter like I have, so we have so many, common things, and just to see, and just to get this education, this game from you, 2020 has literally been just a level up for me. I sat down, I spoke with my tax strategist, had a similar conversation, and a lot of the things you guys are saying was very, very parallel from a very unbiased opinion, which is beautiful. And for us entrepreneurs, we need like-minded individuals around us. We do not have to know every single thing, but we do have to understand that seeking the information and being an expert at hiring experts or having experts around you is going to make your decision making so much better, which is going to help you build wealth better and help you begin to continue to make the decisions that's going to put you and your family on that path to generational wealth, because that's what I preach. That's what I talk about. I just think that outside of everything else we got going on in life, we all have a duty to build a legacy and leave a legacy behind for our family. So we got to understand how politics work.
Yep.
We got to understand who are the candidates. What benefit do they do? What benefit do they bring to me and do they bring to my family? Because those are the things that are very, very important. And then we even got to begin to ask ourselves, how can we become qualified to be a candidate or be a president, right? And I know that we had Barack Obama, who showed us in our history that a person of not a white descendant,
that is possible.
It's possible, right? So that's what the millennial hope dealer, Barack Obama, has done, has given us possibilities, given us hope. My job today is to instill some hope into you to know that no matter where you come from, Sam came from, a good upbringing, struggled a little bit in college, but still was able to push through and find his way where now he's working with clients who, owns millions and millions of dollars of assets, and he's able to start using them same strategies for him and his family. And same thing for me, getting around, a lot of great people. I've been able to build wealth, leverage tax savings, learn how to manage and grow my wealth, start retirement plans, saving plans, life insurance, and all them things that I'm on my quest to. So I think it was a great show here, brother.
Excellent.
We talking that financial gospel. We money getters, man. We love this money, man. We love this wealth. I sit down and have dinner with Sam all the time. We talk about, a lot of the great dreams that we have to be able to just travel the world and just have the finer things in life, but we understand that we got to sacrifice now while we are young.
Yep.
A lot of people want to live while they're young and then try to
catch up in their 35, 40, 50, and then you find yourself draining yourself out, right? But it's cool that we were focused enough to play it backwards. Now, we had fun.
Absolutely.
We go out. We enjoy ourselves from time to time, but 80% of our mindset is business driven. We're always focused on business, growth, wealth plans, wealth savings, so that we can get our time back by 40 to 50 years old and live the rest of our life on our terms and continue to grow money and learn how to do less and make more money.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, as we wrap up on this Legacy of a Lifestyle podcast, appreciate you all watching. What is some advice? What is some advice that you would give to our viewers watching this that is, focused on building a legacy and they want to be that CEO of their last name? What's some quick advice you would give them?
The best advice I could give you is, look at your circle, because, it's very true that, your net worth is going to be the average of the 5 people that's closest to you.
Right.
Right? So make a list of everybody that you consider a friend. Put a plus and minus by their names, right? Plus for those people that you feel like add value.
Yeah.
But a minus for those people that are the negative people. And my advice is completely cut those negative individuals out of your life. If it's impossible to cut those negative individuals out of your life, really kind of reduce the amount of time that you spend with them.
Right.
And spend more time with those individuals that add value to your life. And not only that, seek out and kind of grow your network, right? Cast the net wide, meet as many people as possible. And from there, you can pick and choose who do you feel like is going to help benefit you. It sounds selfish in a sense, but in life, in order to be successful and in order to become selfless, where you can provide for your family and those around you, you have to be selfish.
You have to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's so true.
You need to be selfish with your time, and you have to be selfish with your relationships.
For real.
If people aren't adding value, they're taken away from you. So, network, and be around the right people.
Love it. I love it. If you had to advise our viewers on one good book that you read on your journey that has changed your life, what would that book be?
Man, Business Secrets from the Bible. I referenced it earlier this year, but that was it was life changing for me. I was always a kind of an individualistic individual, right, which would have killed me in this business. So I was in that mindset before I started this business. It's like, if I need to get it done, I'm gonna take care of it.
Yeah.
But Business Secrets from the Bible just really stressed the importance of network, building relationships, specializing in your field, things that you don't necessarily that doesn't add value to growing your business. Delegate that to somebody else that that might be their expertise.
Yeah.
But focus on what you're good at, hone in on those skills, and become the best at it.
I love it.
So Business Secrets from the Bible by Rabbi Daniel Lapin.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, man. And leaving our last thing is, if you have one quote that you live by that gets you going every day, every week, every quarter, what's that quote that keeps you pushing?
One quote that I live by. It's not a specific quote, but I have a picture of myself. It's kind of funny. It's an app where you can picture yourself as an older person.
Okay.
And I have it up on my mirror, and it literally says that this person depends on he depends on you and the actions you decide to take today.
Wow.
So it's an older me.
Wow.
And I see myself as an older man, and it tells me that he's dependent on me. His lifestyle and how he lives is dependent on the actions I take as a young man.
Wow, I love that. I think that's so deep there. So it's pretty much in a in a fantasy way, it is the future you reminding you that, Sam, you gotta work, you gotta grind, you gotta put the work in so that I can live the life that I deserve to live.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Hey guys, wrap it up. I appreciate that, brother, there. That was a beautiful episode there. Here with my brother Samuel Lucas, financial advisor, been crushing the game, gave y'all some great insight. Take this information and understand that this is the type of information that you need to be seeking and understanding and learning as an entrepreneur. Let the noise, let the stuff that's not relevant to your legacy fly by. Hone into people like Sam, people like myself, and get on your journey to building your legacy. So this is another episode of Legacy of a Lifestyle podcast with your host, Isaac Grace, the Millennial Hope Dealer, and our special guest here, Samuel Lucas. We thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in another episode.
Thank you.